Welcome back everybody to part 2 of What If Doctor Who was in the MCU. Ever since that video, we've burned through the entirety of Ncuti Gatwa's run as the first Disney Doctor, and more importantly, the 15th Doctor. I'll be honest, I tuned in for like the first half of his season and then fell out of it because life stuff. From what I saw though, we had a very promising start. There were a few writing concerns, but apart from that, he did have some genuinely good episodes. So what happened? I'm genuinely asking what happened. I suppose it's like a video for another day. Where we left off in the last part, the Doctor had been a witness to the formation of the Avengers and helped stave off Loki and the Master's combined invasion of Earth. After the credits rolled, he warned Thanos against any future invasion of Earth, something that the Mad Titans seemed to take no heed of. Now that we've actually seen how a Disney-produced Doctor Who show works on Disney+, it actually helps us a bit engage in how exactly Doctor Who will fit in the MCU in terms of the reality aspect. From this, we can do a bit of housekeeping in terms of what actually happens in those Doctor Who seasons, as that now actually needs to fit the universe of the MCU as well. I kind of brushed over that in the first part. So the MCU officially begins with Iron Man 1, but as we know, New Who began in 2005, let's say around 2009, through some very unrealistic means. When Disney acquires Marvel, we'll say that Doctor Who also is somehow acquired around this time. From 2009, Doctor Who is now produced by Disney in the same way that shows like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Agent Carter were. In 2009, this was actually David Tennant's last season as the 10th Doctor, so actually a very perfect time for like a soft reboot of the series. With this soft reboot, we can begin introducing certain aspects of the Marvel Universe within Doctor Who. One of these aspects being S.H.I.E.L.D. I think for the early seasons of Disney Who, as I'm going to refer to it, Nick Fury may serve as a recurring character, establishing S.H.I.E.L.D. within this universe. I think I said this in the last part, but UNIT should serve as the British branch of S.H.I.E.L.D., with Nick Fury serving as the overall director, so whenever Kate Lethbridge-Stewart arrives, she'll be answering directly to Nick Fury. Another thing that I think Disney Who should focus on is introducing that cosmic side of the MCU. I think it could really lay some groundwork for Guardians of the Galaxy to capitalize on. And then lastly, I think some British heroes should make their way into Disney Who, such as Dane Whitman, the Black Knight. Doctor Who has always been used as a platform to shine a spotlight on young upcoming actors. So in a similar way, it could be used to introduce British Marvel characters who may go on to serve roles within the MCU. So, number 10 regenerates, allowing for a soft reboot and transition into the MCU. 11th Doctor series focuses on expanding the lore of S.H.I.E.L.D., the cosmic side of the MCU, as well as maybe introducing some other Marvel characters along the way. An example of this could be like in the episode The Pandorica Opens, when the Doctor is lured into a trap in a combined effort from all of his enemies. Among the races who trap the Doctor, we could include races such as the Frost Giants, or perhaps even the Asgardians if you want to get extra crazy. So now we've returned to where we left off in the last part. The year is 2012 and the Avengers is a major success. In the following year, 2013, the Doctor will regenerate again into his 12th incarnation, played by Peter Capaldi. Meanwhile, the MCU closes off on phase 1 and its next phase begins. Now this is where I want to add a key deviation in the Doctor Who series. In lore, the Doctor, when he's faced with death, he regenerates into a new body. However, this ability at the time could only be used 12 times, 12 faces, or maybe it was 13, I'm pretty sure it's off. And the major issue at the time was that the Doctor had already used up all of his 12 regenerations, meaning his 11th incarnation, which was truly his 12th, was actually his last face. The Doctor learns that he will meet his fate on a planet called Trenzalore, and in the episode titled Time of the Doctor, we see him go all out against all of his enemies in an endless war where eventually he succumbs to old age. It all has to do with the name of the Doctor, this supposed ancient secret that must remain unspoken. Doctor Who. I'm not gonna lie, this storyline kinda went nowhere, but since it is important, I'm gonna have to stick with it. The way I would change this is first of all by changing the location of the Doctor's supposed fateful last hurrah. Trenzalore in Doctor Who canon doesn't really have any major meaning apart from it being a small Christmas village. This represents the fact that the Doctor is willing to die over protecting this small town. It's where he makes his last stand in a way. His life isn't that valued over the lives of these people. However, in Disney Who, the 11th Doctor will instead learn that he is to meet his tragic fate on the planet Vormir. And now you can see where I'm going with this. The Doctor wouldn't be too knowledgeable on Vormir, as it is a barren planet devoid of life, and he should be careful not to cross his own time stream. In series canon, the Doctor does end up visiting Trenzalore, and so he will also visit Vormir with his companion Clara in tow. The Doctor travels to Vormir in the distant future where he sees his potential grave. The TARDIS in its dying state begins to expand and encompass the horizon. Otherwise, the Doctor sees Vormir as it is, a barren wasteland, and wonders why it is this planet that he will meet his end after so very long. However, he is quickly visited by a ghastly figure who we will all know to be Red Skull, and also someone that the Doctor would be very aware of. He quickly deduces Red Skull's fate, having been transported to Vormir by the Space Stone. He laughs, but then asks a key question: why here? Red Skull will explain to the Doctor what had happened in the years past. A great war was fought against the Doctor, one that ended with his death. The Doctor doesn't care too much about that. He is more curious about Red Skull. Last he checked, Johann Schmidt was just a jumped up super soldier from World War II. How has he been alive all this time? Why does he know so much about the past and the Doctor's future? What has he become? The Red Skull will then reveal in short words that he was bound to this place, cursed. What curse? The Doctor will demand, with his patience running thin. Red Skull relents and reveals that Vormir had been the location of the Soul Stone, and perhaps it will begin to click for the Doctor why he will meet his fate here. The Doctor begins to laugh, realizing that the stone had chosen Red Skull as its keeper. The rest of the episode will then follow the plot of Name of the Doctor, which again has plots that kinda went nowhere, so I'd love to reimagine another version, but that would take a lot of time, and this is focused on a more wider image of the MCU. It would be more interesting if it was the Red Skull who took on the role of the Great Intelligence, attempting to convince the Doctor to open the doors of the decaying TARDIS and reveal the secret of his name. Since this is an alternate future, the Soul Stone may have already left Vormir, and so Red Skull would be kind of free to do this if he really wanted to. In any case, it's been alluded to that the Doctor will fight in some kind of major war on Vormir, one that will claim many lives. Who would seek to fight a war against the Doctor? What would be the point? Unless they also learned of this prophecy where the Doctor would be forced to speak his name and die on Trenzalore/Vormir. Who would need the Doctor out of their way? Well, who else but the Mad Titan himself? In Avengers, we set up this kind of rivalry between Thanos and the Doctor, where the Doctor seems to be the only one really aware of Thanos' race for the Infinity Stones. Learning of his imminent fate and that he is on his final regeneration, Thanos seeks to rid the universe of the Time Lords once and for all. I think this would be the perfect opportunity to showcase the power of Thanos, aside from his usage of the Infinity Gauntlet. I don't think he'd take any active role on the battlefield, but his relentless armies joining with the Doctor's other enemies would serve to give us the idea that Thanos is a major threat in the MCU. And so Thanos takes sort of a major role in this episode, arriving when the message of Doctor Who is broadcast across the universe and destroying the planetary shield that surrounds Vormir. Throughout this episode, Thanos may begin to suspect that something is awry with the planet Vormir. After all, Trenzalore at the very least had a village for the Doctor to protect. What is he protecting on Vormir? We won't know whether Thanos figures it out, as in the end the Doctor manages to escape his fate by gaining access to a completely new regeneration cycle thanks to Clara urging the Time Lords through the crack in the universe. I'm so sorry if you're not following. Doctor Who is so wacky sometimes. In this version of events, the Doctor will not regenerate from old age. The Doctor is in fact overwhelmed by Thanos' forces. Despite his attempts to make shields, barriers or traps, the Horde completely takes him. But due to Clutch Clara, the Doctor feels his regeneration coming on. When the Doctor regenerates, he releases a powerful energy unless he is killed before it ends. I don't think we need to worry about the Doctor dying because the 11th Doctor's regeneration was so powerful it destroyed a flipping Dalek mothership. Upon seeing the Doctor's regeneration, Thanos gives the signal to retreat and the rest of his forces scatter like the wind. After which the Doctor lets go of his 11th incarnation and transforms into the 12th Doctor. I know, I was sad too, but we have to stick to the timeline. Aside from the main series, Matt Smith may have his final appearance in the MCU in Thor: The Dark World. Perhaps he could appear in the post-credit scene. You know, after the Asgardians deposit the reality stone in the hands of the Collector, we pan to the doors of the TARDIS as they swing open. And then in the time of the Doctor, we can learn that the Doctor has possession of the Reality Stone and perhaps he uses this in his battle against Thanos. I mean, the Doctor is already some kind of wild trickster god, so imagine what he could get up to with the Reality Stone in hand. But I left this as an open-ended idea as it could be too much, you know. Phase 2 of the MCU will have Peter Capaldi as the Doctor. The only difference in his series would be that he is aware that Missy is in fact the Master. I think that was such a good reveal the first time, which is a shame, but story-wise it doesn't really matter. His first appearance aside from Disney Who will most likely and obviously be in Guardians of the Galaxy, where he will serve a small supporting role or maybe just be comprised of cameos. I think this kind of works because James Gunn has worked with Peter Capaldi in the Suicide Squad, so you know, it connects, the pieces are coming together. In this movie, we'll probably see him returning the Reality Stone if we go with the version where he took it from the Collector. The Collector would also have a lot of the alien races from Doctor Who in his collection. A Dalek, a Sontaran, a Cyberman may be among his interests, but overall, I imagine the Doctor's role starting out as kind of conversations over digital communications, and then he has a fully fledged appearance at the end. I think he would be familiar with Rocket and Groot and take a particular interest in Peter Quill. In fact, it would be Peter who has these conversations with him. The Doctor has this kind of funny teacher-student relationship where he reprimands Peter for his renegade lifestyle and makes fun of the name Star-Lord, calling it a rip-off of his race as a Time Lord. The Doctor allows these initial guardians of Rocket, Groot and Peter to get along better since they have a mutual acquaintance whom they all respect. However, he would have no major role in the story as the Guardian story is quite self-contained. At the end, he'll make a grander appearance, meeting all of the Guardians. He lectures them on their misuse of the Power Stone. You know how they all kind of just grabbed it? Figures like Drax and Gamora will question his authority, but Rocket is gonna urge them to listen. After the Collector has his collection blown up by the Power Stone, the Doctor no longer trusts him with the protection of those stones, and instead he takes the Power Stone from the Guardians and decides to hide it himself. We're directly shown the Doctor's capabilities when it comes to imprisoning beings in the family of blood. So I think the Doctor would similarly be capable in hiding the Infinity Stone. I think due to their nature of powerful singularities of the universe or whatever, he can't just scatter them throughout time. Maybe they're a fixed point in time or something. So instead, he can just hide them throughout the universe in places no one is ever gonna find them. In a happier note, he congratulates the Guardians. Having seen how the Avengers have got along, he thinks that the Guardians would do well as a sort of Space Avengers and would make his life easier, though the Guardians don't know what he means and don't really care. Essentially, he's keeping tabs on them and making sure that they're not getting into too much trouble. And since they trade blows with Ronan the Accuser, they've definitely get into too much trouble. As I said before, he has a key interest in Peter Quill. The Doctor would be well aware of his status as a half-celestial, and the Doctor's interest would be a key foreshadowing of Star-Lord's lineage, but no blatant reference would be made. After Guardians, Phase 2 stays strictly on Earth, and I see no reason for the Doctor to appear in any more projects. I think considering his relationship with S.H.I.E.L.D., it would make sense for him to appear in The Winter Soldier, but I liked that movie too much to interfere with it. It would probably be stated somewhere that he aided in the evacuation of Sokovia, but there would be no need for him to make a direct appearance in Age of Ultron. I mean, he could appear in Agent Carter as well, but the shows were so disconnected from the MCU that I don't think there's any point. Something else that I wanted to discuss was potential companions for the Doctor moving forward. It would be cool if we had like Marvel characters joining the Doctor on his adventures for like half a season or more. For example, he typically has female companions. Bit freaky if you ask me, but personally here are some of my picks for potential companions. Number 1, Jane Foster. She has the technical knowledge to be a very useful companion. Also, she's had her fair share of close encounters of the alien kind. The only issue with the reality aspect is that Natalie Portman barely appeared in MCU movies past Thor, so her appearing in a British sci-fi show may be a bit of a stretch, though just thinking lore-wise it would definitely make sense and she would be my prime pick. I think she could join along with Clara for a couple of episodes as a guest appearance, but wouldn't be a continuing companion. Number 2, Darcy Lewis. Similar to Jane Foster, she would probably be more likely to be a constant companion of the Doctor, either being a secondary companion to Clara or replacing her when she inevitably dies. Poor Clara. Number 3, Jimmy Woo. Appearing in Ant-Man and the Wasp, so out of scope for phase 2, but definitely would be a good companion to the Doctor. His abilities as a former S.H.I.E.L.D. agent would come into use as to balance the powerful mind of the Doctor. Also, great comic relief. Then these picks are kinda unrealistic, but would definitely be fun, either permanent or temporary companions for the Doctor, and I have a mix of comic and MCU characters here, so I'm just gonna list them off. Number 1, Sharon Carter. Number 2, Happy Hogan. Number 3, Ned Leeds. Number 4, Yondu or any of the Ravagers. Number 5, Sif. Number 6, Claire Temple. Number 7, Mary Jane Watson, comic version or the movie version. Number 8, Amadeus Cho. Number 9, Bob, Agent of Hydra. Number 10, Jarvis, comic version or alternatively Vision. And number 11, Rick Jones. Number 12, Kitty Pryde. Number 13, Jubilee. Number 14, Wolverine. And unfortunately that is all the time we have for today's part. In the next part I would like to discuss phase 3 of the MCU and where we could possibly squeeze in the Doctor. As always, let me know your thoughts and also comment down below where you think the 12th Doctor would appear in phase 3. Remember to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and thank you all for watching and your support on the previous part. I've been your boy Paula. Peace.